Hello everybody, this is John. Welcome to the Ag Weather Outlook for February 13th, 2016. Well, it's certainly been an extremely cold period over the last couple days. It looks like it'll be that way for a few more, but take a look at where temperatures are starting off this morning. Well below zero over parts of Iowa, Minnesota, Wisconsin, single digits over a large part of the Corn Belt this morning. So definitely the weather story are the extremely cold temperatures. Now precipitation, not so much. It's been fairly quiet over the last week. Now, if you're in parts of Iowa, smaller parts of Nebraska, Minnesota, Wisconsin, you're probably saying it's been a pretty harsh winter as far as snow goes. But most areas, it really hasn't been. The story has not really been all that much as far as snow goes this winter. Now, last week there was some snow, but you can see the percent of normal precipitation. Yellows and reds are indicating below normal. Most areas, central, eastern Corn Belt, below normal precipitation. A little bit above normal in the upper Midwest, North Dakota, and it's really been dry in that area, so we could use it. With the exception of the real active snow area, most areas could use more precipitation, including the eastern and the northern parts of the Corn Belt. Now, if you want to see where the snow fell last week, here we go. The areas receiving these little maroon dots here were generally 1 or 2 inches of snow. This was some light snow, but where it fell, it did cause quite a bit of traffic problems and such. You can still see we have lake effect snow in spots. And if you want to see where the snow is on the ground, here we go. And this is where I was saying, if you're in this area right here, you've had quite a bit of snow this winter, but it's been very localized. Eastern Corn Belt, very little snow on the ground. Upper Midwest, very little snow on the ground. Really just along this area right in here, the most snow on the ground. And if you look at the water equivalent here, quite a bit, about 2 inches in many spots. So once that melts, that's going to be 2 inches or maybe more in spots of water that's going to go into soils and rivers. Now, as far as water recharge of soils, not much, at least from snow over the eastern Corn Belt, Illinois, Indiana, and Ohio. Upper Midwest, same way. So far, we got a long way to go. I'd like to see a little bit of recharge, more recharge, either rain or snow as we go through the winter months. With the really cold air, we're not getting much melting. Melting shows up on this map in yellow or red. So any snow we have is staying on the ground, whether it's light or heavy. That's going to change quite a bit. I think next week when you see this, you're going to see a lot more bright orange in here. Now, temperatures this week before the cold air came in were fairly close to normal. Now, I wanted to talk about the current cold air situation. It's really this rotation right here. Your polar low is up to the north, and we get these lobes. I've talked about this a lot. These are lobes. It's definitely the polar low coming further a bit south, but it's not like this polar rotation is dipping all the way over us. It's really just a lobe that's rotating over us, and each one of these lobes brings some cold air. Now, one thing I want you to watch is out to the west. Look at this very, very strong core of winds. The color shadings indicate stronger winds. I think this is, when you see this strong a wind coming in here, this is going to punch through, and that's likely going to alter the alignment of the upper steering winds when you see that strong winds. So when I see that, that's an indication to me of a likelihood of a pattern change when I see those strong winds. Now, before I talk about this, let's talk about the cold air a little bit more here. This is all the cold air that has pushed over the region. Large part of the eastern part of the nation, well below normal, but the Midwest and the Northeast, the Ohio River Valley, and the Great Lakes, those are the areas that have the strongest anomalies of cold air. Okay, now let's talk about the forecast. This is this week. We're going to start out with the pattern I just described, the dip in the jet stream over the east, then the winds beginning to sort of push in here from the west and start to push this cold air and the jet stream, the dip in the jet stream further off to the east. We're going to still average this week with below normal temperatures, but by the end of the week, we're going to be seeing some significant moderation. Now, there will be a clipper system that's associated with this transition. Usually when there's a transition, you get some type of opportunity for precipitation. It's going to be in the form of snow, a fairly modest amount of snow, and a fairly narrow stripe of snow. This is a forecast for early this week. And if you want to look at the surface low tracks, we have a couple of them. This is the one that's the Clipper system pushing across. Then we have another one coming up to our south. And when we look at the amounts of precipitation expected this week, here's the band associated with the Clipper system, and here's the band of snow. It's getting a little bit deeper moisture associated with the system coming out of the southwest. So snowfall, here's your snowfall potential. Now, looks like generally a 2 to 4 inch in this region, 1 to 3 a little bit further south. And then this looks like much heavier snow with the system coming out of the southwest that'll be pushing across parts of the eastern U.S. Now let's look at where the snow is going to fall. Is it needed or not? Well, in this region right here, just more snow is going to be added to what's on the ground. But up here, that's a welcome snow. We could use more precipitation in this area. Any snow we get in the eastern Corn Belt, again, it'll be welcome, but right now it looks like amounts are going to be fairly light. Okay, so let's talk about the big change. Here we go. February 18th through 23rd. This will be starting over the western parts of the Corn Belt this week, usually mid to late week. Good part of the Corn Belt, the entire Corn Belt, by late this week, this time a week from now, into the following week. And look how the jet stream has changed. Now we have a jet stream. This is a very mild type pattern. Here's your temperature average for the 6 to 10 day. Looks like the western half of the Corn Belt well above normal. Eastern Corn Belt not so much, just a bit above normal, but still after this cold temperatures could be very welcome. Now if we go a little bit further, 11 through 15, I think it gets a little bit more iffy. My call is that it's going to return back to normal. So we're going from a well below normal, bitterly cold, to very nice, milder temperatures, and then probably settling back down towards closer to normal as we get into that 11 to 15 day towards the end of the month of February. We'll have to see. That's way out there, but right now that's what I would call for. Precipitation, I still continue to see no signs of major systems. Now week 2, we could see some Texas, Oklahoma heavier rainfall. We'll have to watch that. But we're starting to get also, I'm going to be talking more about the start of severe weather season as well. The southern parts of the U.S., not the Corn Belt, but the southern parts of the U.S. start to get some severe weather, and moisture can pull up into that region. So takeaway points, the alert this week is bitterly cold temperatures just early this week. We're at the very peak of them right now. Trends are a significant moderation, welcome moderation later this week, continuing into next week. The trend for below normal precipitation, I do think, is going to continue into the foreseeable future. That does not mean no precipitation. It just means that it will continue below normal. Well, I hope you can get by the next couple of days with the really cold air in place over most areas, because it looks like it's well worth it, because by the end of the week, much nicer temperatures. Take care.